The Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan would like to express its gratitude to one of our most prominent Jordanians, His Excellency Mr. Taleb Rifai, for his work in elevating the global tourism industry and his work in developing and improving the Jordanian tourism sector.
Thank you, Dr. Taleb, for being the force that brings the global tourism sector together under the umbrella of friendship and understanding, for embracing the importance of bringing cultures together and being a friend. Your work has impacted tourism on a grand scale, but you've also represented Jordan in an exceptional way, acting as an international spokesperson for Kingdom and its people.
His Excellency has worked tirelessly as the United Nations World Tourism Organization Secretary-General, having been on more than 400 missions around the world.
Dr. Taleb Rifai has distinguished leadership skills. He was able to influence others around the world and at the same time transform the UNWTO from a small organization to a much larger and influential organization amongst the international community.
After 8 years of service at the UNWTO, His Excellency leaves behind many who were influenced by his innovative thinking and commitment to improving the lives of so many around the globe.
شكراً يا طالب على كل اللي انت عملته من أجل السياحة في العالم كله. زاهي حواس.
Before beginning his illustrious career at the UNWTO, His Excellency served the Kingdom as the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities. Mr. Rifai established Jordan's first archaeological park in the ancient city of Petra in collaboration with UNESCO and the World Bank. He also realized several grand projects in Jarash, the Dead Sea, and Wadi Rum.
Taleb, the professor, Taleb, the architect, Taleb, the Minister of Information, Taleb, the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, Taleb, the Minister of Planning, Taleb, the ILO expert, Taleb, the Secretary-General of the United Nations World Tourism Organization. You are going to be missed.
As Minister of Tourism, he was also the chairman of the Jordan Tourism Board and president of the Amun School for Tourism and Hospitality. We thank you and offer you our deepest gratitude for all that you have done for Jordan and the world.
Hello, Taleb, my old friend. Long time no see. But your place in Jordan was never filled. We always missed you, although we are very proud of you, of what you did for tourism in Jordan and for labor and tourism around the world. You are a rare man, and we are very proud of you, and we love you.
I cannot forget the days of my dear friend Dr. Taleb Rifai assisting me in developing the first Dead Sea Hotel and opening up the Dead Sea as a destination for tourism. It has been an instrumental development that created the Dead Sea as a destination.
Dr. Taleb Rifai, this might be the end of your second term as Secretary-General of the UNWTO, but this is also the beginning of a legacy that you leave us for generations to come. Selfishly speaking, we are very happy to have you back home with us in Jordan. But we also know that you have become a global citizen, with every country wanting to claim you as their own. And we know that the world will be asking you to travel, so they can enjoy your company because you have earned all their respect. Thank you, Dr. Taleb, for everything you have done for Jordan. We love you and God bless you.
Let us remind ourselves that the power of tourism is to build peace and mutual understanding. This is an industry that puts smiles on the faces of people, those that are visiting and those that are hosting. It's an industry of hope and optimism.
My dear friends, it is my great pleasure to address you all on this International Day for Biological Diversity. I wish to commend the Convention on Biological Diversity for having chosen biodiversity and sustainable tourism at this year's theme, a theme supporting the International Year for Sustainable Tourism for Development 2017. My dear friends, tourism and biodiversity are interrelated in quest for sustainable development. All nature-based tourism relies on biodiversity and its ecosystems. Sustainability managed tourism can help to conserve and preserve sensitive and biodiverse areas. Tourism can also raise awareness worldwide of the critical value of protected areas and conservation and sustainability. My dear friends, we can do much more to curb the impact of tourism on environment and local communities. We can make tourism policies follow core principles of sustainability, like clear land use planning and development control policies. We can also use technology to help transform tourism into a preservation tool for biodiversity. And we can use regular and reliable data for continuous monitoring of tourism impact, which is crucial to sustainable tourism development. Today, my friends, UNWTO's International Network for Sustainable Tourism Observatories gathered institutions around the world that regularly monitor the economic, environmental, and social impact of tourism. In this regard, UNWTO encourages more destinations to set up sustainable tourism observatories and join us in this network. Together, we can make tourism an ally in fighting biodiversity loss and achieving the global goals for a better world. I thank you all very much. Thank you.
Perfect then. Then we are ready to kick off this interview. And first of all, we would like to ask you if you could tell us a little bit more about your former position as Secretary-General of the United Nations World Tourism Organizations, and maybe also what are you currently working on?
Thank you so much. I'm a living example of those that had nothing to do with tourism before I joined. I was a teacher at the university. I taught architecture for 20 years. Then suddenly politics drove me and I became Minister of Tourism and Antiquity in my own country. That's how I got involved in tourism. But I fell in love with it. It's a passion that really drives anybody for success. And now here I am. All what I think about is tourism and travel and how it can make this world a better place.
All right, thank you. So you really got the passion for hospitality for a long time.
Yes. 20 years now.
Wow, very nice. And so, of course, you were working at the UN. So reaching the UN Sustainable Development Goals, it can be found within the strategy of many companies that are striving towards a more sustainable world. But how are you feeling about the progress towards reaching those goals?
First, we have to understand what sustainability is. We have to define sustainability. Sustainability is not just about the environment. Sustainability is a way of life, social, economic, and environmental sustainability. Of course, the environment is a very important part of it, but sustainability is about sustaining life on Earth. It's not anti-growth or anti-progress. Sustainability does not equal conservation. Sustainability is not to freeze things as they are. I always say the island of Manhattan was not more beautiful when New York was built. Definitely. Venice was not more beautiful before it was built as a natural landscape. So I'm not against interfering in the environment, not against progress and growth, but you have to know how to grow, how to progress, to do it in a sustainable way. It's not whether to build a skyscraper or not. It's where to build it and how to build it. That's the point. Sustainability is also about social and economic sustainability. It's about the community. It's about people. We need to make sure that the walls are lowered between the visiting community and the local community. People must interact with each other because the local community must benefit directly from the visitors. Otherwise, it doesn't work. That's not sustainable at all. That's what sustainability is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So you're actually saying it's all connected, right? And one aspect of sustainability cannot really exist without the others, right?
Exactly. Because
Okay.
many people, when they think about sustainability, they only think about the environment and climate change, which is a major part of it. But it's not everything. It's how to sustain life on Earth. How does life continue to go on Earth? And life can continue to grow on Earth if we do it the right way, if we approach our activity the right way. That's sustainability.
Okay. I think it's, for me at least, a very clear definition. So if we are looking at those UN Sustainable Development Goals, are they on track, you think, the roads, or is there still a lot of progress to be made?
Well, we have to remember that these were approved in 2015, and they are a landmark until 2030, only 15 years. So now with the COVID, we are diverted by our direction. But otherwise, I think, yes, they are comprehensive enough. There was enough discussion, was part of that discussion when it first started in 2014, 2015, and 198 countries approved that, which is very important achievement. Yes, they are on target. I hope we can achieve them now, especially after Corona.
Yeah, we hope so too, that we can still be on track and maybe even make some bigger steps because of awareness, right? Because of Corona.
Yes.
And well, if you look at the hospitality industry, for example, are there any specific things you could indicate that really need some more attention than others? Like, is there enough awareness in that industry? Are there changes that have to be made?
No, there is not enough awareness about the importance of this industry. Neither the industry itself is aware of its role. You know, our industry is a very conservative one. We need to think outside of the box. Just think about it. We were able to put a man on the moon before we were able to put 2 wheels on a suitcase. I always like to use that example. We're very conservative as an industry. So it takes lots of time for us to move on. I think our life has to change now, very dramatically. For example, hotels, they have to change the way you receive people, the way you're received when you come in. You don't have to stand in line to go to a receptionist. Your phone now can be everything you need. You could get check-in on the phone. You could use your phone as a key to open the door of your room. You need to look at all the hygiene protocols and everything. All of this has become part of the new norm, of the new world that this COVID has introduced to us. So the answer to your question is no, we're not very prepared as an industry. Neither are we as a society giving enough importance to tourism. Travel and tourism has not become very important. COVID has helped us in trying to highlight the importance of it, because many countries are feeling now that with the loss of tourism, they lost lots of economic revenues and lots of jobs, which is very, very important. But otherwise, we're still behind in all of consciousness and awareness of the role of tourism in the new world.
Yes. Yes, so actually also the technology that's actually developing will also be able to help us reach the goals more because they're connected.
That's right. Technology is a tool. We have to use it for our advantage. We can't let it control us. We have to control it. It's been like this throughout history. We've always been producing things that have side effects. When we invented fire, we never thought that we were going to have fire guns. We invented fire because it was important. It's part of technology. Today, when we have invented the World Wide Web, we didn't think of the negative impacts of that. But if we're conscious of it, we can always do it right. Mankind's story in life has always been one of continuous knowing how to deal with the challenges and the problems. We will do it, I'm sure. We will overcome the climate change, overcome the technology challenge, we'll overcome the safety. We will as human beings. I'm very confident of that. I'm a very optimistic person. I have to caution you and warn you about it. But that means that we will have to be very conscious and aware of our role. And tourism and travel is a cornerstone of all of that, because travel and tourism connects people together in an incredible way. And that's what communication does. So I think that answers your question.
It does, thank you. It also really sketches a very nice image of how you think in the future the things will come together. So that is very nice. And we also had a question about sustainable business, like DNA, like within a company, because we believe that it is very important that companies incorporate sustainability within their DNA so they can avoid greenwashing and they can actually make a change. And in your opinion, what defines a successful sustainability within a core, like a successful strategy to do it?
First, let me remind you, sustainability is not just about green and environment. Let's think about it this way. The most successful companies are those that know how to fit themselves properly within the environment that they're in, within this community that they're in. They have to connect with each other, with their local community. Corporate social responsibility, for example, is not anymore about sharing your capital. It's not about paying money. It's about sharing your business now. You have to encourage your traveler to go and visit the local community, not to keep this all-inclusive model, which has been disastrous. All-inclusive models keep the tourists in one spot. They don't interact with the community. Community comes to serve them only. But that's not good enough, because the future generations are not going to be happy or satisfied by having them serving the rich people of the world to go every day to their own houses, their own families, and discover difference in standards of living. Therefore, sustainability in DNA has to be rooted very strong within the local community. Environmental, social, and economic sustainability, all three.
Yeah, because one cannot really exist without the other two.
That's right.
Yes. Okay, and
it's not just about paying money.
Yeah.
It's about sharing your business. You have to get used to encouraging your people to go visit the local community, spend their money there, not expect only to create jobs for the local community. That's not enough anymore, because people are going to get fed up at the end of serving only the rich people of the world. They want to create their own self-employment, their own jobs. That can only be done by sharing your business. If you have any needs for your hotel, you have to buy it from the community.
Yeah.
If you have any other things that you want to show the community, let people go to that community. Let the community develop open shops and open activities. It's much better than bringing people to your hotels or to your centers.
Yes. And thank you very much that was a really nice answer to our question. And also, I remember during the summits that you highlighted that the importance that there's no competition between neighbors and change has to be done together. And how do you think, because hospitality is still an industry with a lot of competition, but how could they come together and make sure that change is being made together for sustainability?
It's the only way to do it, really.
Yeah.
Because, competition is not, there will always be competition, but competition is on services. Competition is on the way you serve your people, the quality of your service. But it's never about bringing in more people. The good for my neighbor is good for me. If more people come to my neighbor's home, they'll come to me. I always use the example of the souk. The souk in our culture, the market, traditional market.
Yes,
All the people that sell gold are in one street. All the people that sell pepper are in one street. All the people that sell clothes are in one street. They don't see themselves as competing with each other, because people want to go to a place where there is abundance of available material, but they compete with each other on how good they serve their customers. That's the competition, not just what you have, what you do. What you have is more important than what you have.
Thank you. That's very nice. So then they actually compete for quality over quality.
Yes, quality of the service.
Yes.
Itself, yes.
Yes. I think in a quality-centered industry like hospitality, that's a very valuable takeaway.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And, so within the travel, the hospitality industry, are there now some examples or some leaders that are specifically doing well that you know of?
Yes, of course. There are some South European countries like Greece, like Spain, like Portugal, like Italy, that are doing very well, because they integrate the local community with the visitors. And there is enough of local movement, local and domestic tourism, domestic travel, to keep everything alive. Because domestic travel is very important as well in this regard. No country can or should be enjoyed by any foreigner if it's not enjoyed first by its own people. I believe in that completely. It's a matter of principle, not just a matter of need only because we live in COVID times.
Yeah.
So I think Southern Europe and Northern Mediterranean are a good success story in this regard.
Thank you. Then we will make sure to also look further into that because, of course, we are already looking into it, but we can put extra attention on that.
That's very good.
Thank you. And so another subject we would like to talk about is, for example, certification, because internally companies can always say, yes, we are doing great, we're doing this, but we think that it may be better if they are judged from the external to make sure they are holding up to certain guidelines. So in the hospitality, there are a lot of companies like LEED or B Corp or Green Key. And do you think these companies and non-governmental organizations can be the guiding factor in the transformation of the hospitality industry?
Yes, they have a big role to play, but we shouldn't forget the role of government in all of this, because governments are the ones that are taking matters into their own hands now. It's not the private sector. They're the ones that are dictating who can go, who cannot, who can walk or who cannot. Is there lockdown or not? Therefore, they have to also be part of the certification, at least give a blessing to all of this. If they don't, the private sector alone cannot do it, unfortunately.
It's again a cooperation of multiple things, right? It's all
That's right.
together.
That's right. That's right.
One of the key takeaways.
Okay, Julie.
But if I can just ask a question as well, what if it's in the years to come, governments keep lacking to really integrate more policies regarding sustainability and for more sustainable tourism? Don't you think that then the larger companies themselves, who you could almost see as governments themselves, for if you look at the large hospitality companies, don't you think that they really should start taking the first steps themselves and maybe trying to influence governments from their point?
It's a two-way street. Governments cannot do it alone, and the private sector cannot do it alone. But governments have to take the initiative, the leadership, because they are the ones that are dictating the terms now, at least, under these current circumstances. But the private sector must be part of this. If the private sector does not interact with governments, we will never get anywhere. Okay, Pele?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then another thing I was really curious about. Let me see. So in an ideal world where everything is perfect, then what would sustainable tourism look like?
There is no perfection in this world. We always get better. Tomorrow is better than yesterday, and the day after tomorrow is better than tomorrow. But perfection is a dream to try to achieve. You always have to have a dream and a vision in your mind and your head. Now, sustainability, I said again, should be seen in a more holistic manner.
Yeah.
To sustain life on Earth, that's what we need. If we have too much climate change, life would not be sustained. If we have too much of distinction between the local community and the visitor, it will never succeed. For example, in Hyderabad in India, a few years ago, the local community attacked a 5-star hotel around their community and burned it down. Why did they do that? Because they felt that this is not really what they want to see in their community. It's not doing anything to the community. So we have to be conscious and aware of that. Now, how is this going to make a better world? The world is getting better whether we like it or not. It's up to us to decide to be part of this bigger picture or not. I believe the world is getting better, definitely. Look at ourselves now. If you were born in the year 1900, you'd have born in a world where after 10, 15 years you had the Spanish flu, then you had the First World War, then you had the Second World War, then you would have the Vietnam War, the Korean War. It was not a very pleasant time. So those that are complaining today about COVID should think about what their fathers and grandfathers have gone through. We definitely are living a better world. We have to believe in that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's really good to keep focused on the positive and motivated and start making a better world together with all of us.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. That's our core business in life, to make this world a better place. No matter what your business is, your core business must be to make this world a better place. That's what we should do. We should keep that always in mind.
To make the world a better place and to sustain life on Earth, like you
That's
said.
right.
Okay.
That's right.
Very well. Then I don't know if Bella has any more questions you wanted to ask, because personally for me, I've covered the main subjects. Bella?
Yeah, I just had one question. It comes back to a subject that we talked about a while in the beginning, so I hope that's okay. But you were talking about that companies really should share their business with local communities, and that's the only way to really sustain their business. And with the example you gave, the 5-star hotel in India, in our research we've come a lot across that a lot of companies who are leading the way in sustainability are trying to give the employees actual ownership of the companies. So they basically give them stakes in the company. And I was wondering if you see that as a good way to really solve this problem and to boost your sharing of business in the community.
That's one way of doing it. But the other more important way of sharing business is to create new jobs in the community itself. For example, if people in all-inclusive hotels leave their hotels by encouragement of the management and go visit the community around them, they will create a new environment in those communities, in those villages and towns. There would be people that would open shops, cafes, souvenir places. So it's self-employment. That's more important than actually be employed at a bigger company. Whether you own it or not is a different story. Because what you want to avoid is having, as I said, to serve the rich people of the world and spend your life doing that. What you need is to earn money from the presence of these people in your neighborhood. That's what I mean by sharing business.
Okay, no, that's very clear then now. Thank you.
I'll give you a story, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
I was in the Republic of the Philippines a few years ago. The minister there, who was a lady, wonderful lady, she wanted to show me a project there in an island. She said she loved that project. She wanted to see how I felt towards it. She took me in a helicopter because the owner, the investor of that project, had helicopters flying from Manila to that island. When we landed there, I learned from the investor who was waiting for us at the stairs of that helicopter that he had to buy the entire island to control all the investment. The project was Disneyland for adults. It was hotels built in different styles and different restaurants, Chinese, Mexican, French, Italian, Indian, anything you want is there. It's a world of its own. It's a beautiful project for anybody. But then, what they didn't tell me at the time, there were 90,000 people living on that island. So I got curious what happened to them. I went and asked the owner. He said, don't worry about them. I take very good care of them. I open for them schools. I open for them clinics. I pay for the roads. He pays lots of money. So I went to visit that community. After I insisted, I wanted to go see them. When I came back, he was having dinner with the minister. He said, what did you see? I said, you're right. People are very grateful for you to creating jobs. But, he said, there's a but. I said, of course, there's a big but. What's that? I said, I'm not sure the children and the grandchildren of these people will be happy to continue their life serving only the rich people of the world to go back to their community every day and see the difference in their standards of living. So what should I do? I said, you should encourage your people to go visit that visit. He said, what would they do? There is nothing there. I said, don't worry, let them go. We'll interact with the people. The people would feel much better about creating their own jobs. That's what I mean by sharing your business. You have to encourage the people to go to these communities and spend money there. They will. They're looking for a new experience. They don't want to be isolated. They don't want to be in their own bubble. The bubble is called all-inclusive model. That all-inclusive model has to die. It's time out. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it was a really nice story that also, yeah, it's a really specific example of what you just said to us, that it's all working together and the local community. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And
Yes.
Jordi.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was just typing and writing everything. It's very clear for me what you said, and very good insights that you gave us. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't have a question at the moment, actually.
Let me give you another story then.
Yeah,
I was in the country
course.
of Botswana, down in South Africa, southwestern part of Africa. I was meeting with the president of that country, whose picture is behind me now. So I asked him, how are things? He said, fine, but I have a problem in one of the big parks that I have created south of the capital. So I said, can I go visit? I went to see that. What they have done is they have collected all the rare animals into one park. They had to barbed wire that park because the animals cannot run away. But that barbed wire was resented by 11 or 12 villages around that park, because they always used to go in and out without any problem. Now they have barbed wire preventing them. So I suggested something very simple to them. I said, why don't you encourage the people in that resort who has hotels and restaurants and lots of things to go visit these villages? Provide them with free transportation. Be imaginative about it. Have horses and monkeys carry their carriages. Something like that. I went 2 years after that. I was entering the park, and I clearly can remember looking at my left side. The sun was setting on my right. And in that moment, I saw something I'll never forget. There was a billiard table put on outdoors on wet land, because it was raining a lot there. So the mud was covering the feet of those table. Table is very heavy, so the table was sinking. But there were 2 tourists and 2 locals playing billiard on each side. So I said, it's working. That's it. People were just playing and saying cheers to each other. That's the way it should be. When I went into the park, found out that they have been very creative in how to offer free transportation. Well, that's all what they needed to do. Say, if you want to go to any village, you can go for free. And you can take those carriage run by gazelles sometimes, by monkeys, by horses, by anything. So it was very interesting for tourists to go there. They went there, they spent money. They bought their drinks, they bought their things in these villages. So the villages stopped resenting that investment. They like it now. That's another positive story.
thank you. So
You're
the
welcome.
communities actually come together and create a better reality for each other.
That's right.
Very
That's
nice.
right.
Okay, then if Jordi or Pelle doesn't have any other additional questions, then do you have any questions for us still in the meantime?
I just want to wish you the best and thank you all for this wonderful time I'm spending, especially you, Jolie. I met you at LinkedIn.
Yes.
I'm very happy to meet you here. And Jordi and Pelle. It's very nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, very nice to meet you too.
Very nice to meet you as well.
Anything you need, I'm there for you.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you
know
so much.
Thank you.
Yes,
You're welcome.
we'd really like to express our gratitude for your time and sharing, so many new ideas and stories with us. We really feel like we have been very fortunate to have had the opportunity to talk with someone who has that much expertise and experience like you. So
thank you.
And for
it comes with long life. It comes with age. It comes with age. Yes.
Maybe we will get there too.
You will. I'm sure you will. With the right attitude, you will. You all will. All the 3 of you.
Yeah, then Leslie, thank you so much for your time and inspiration, and we hope you enjoyed the interview too.
I did.
Hope you will also have a lovely weekend and recover to feel at your best again after the vaccine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you,
All
Julie.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Brilliant.
much. It was really nice.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Good afternoon.
You. Obrigado. Thank you so much for all the kind introduction that you've made.
How are you?
I'm doing well, alhamdulillah.
Okay,
Very good.
thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for this interview. Since we have only 40 minutes for this interview, I will start with a question with the interview you gave Publituris in 2017. At that time, the first question was, how do you define the current moment in the tourism industry, considering the latest events related to terrorism, Brexit, and the election of Donald Trump to the White House? Today, I begin to asking you how you define the current moment for the tourism industry in considering the pandemic crisis that has been going on now for more than 1 year.
Thank you so much. Let me start by thanking Professor Nuno for his kind introduction. He humbled. And you too, Victor. You're two kind people coming from a country I respect very much, Portugal. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Now, to direct answer to your question is, we're at a very defining moment. Today, we will not bounce back. We will leap forward into a new world, a better and more sustainable world, definitely. But we're in a defining moment for all mankind. Everything will change. It's not like 3-4 years ago, where I did predict that things will go back to the way we were in 1 year, and we did. But that's not what's going to happen now. It will take much longer. But there is a new norm, a new world in the shaping. Thank you.
But in this last 10 years or 12 years, the world suffered two crises. The first one in 2008, 2010, economic and then a financial crisis, where tourism industry was also affected. And now with this health crisis, would there be any way for the tourism industry to prepare itself for such a reality that we are living now? And if yes, how?
Okay, let me just add to that it's not only these two crises. Since the beginning of this century, we had 2001, the crisis of the New York attacks, remember, terrorism attacks. Mm-hmm. Then we had SARS after that in 2005. Then we had 2008, 2000. So it's a continuous sequence. But this one is different. This one is a worldwide thing, and it has to do this for a long period of time. So I think dealing with it is going to be different. It uncovered so much of our weaknesses. That's in direct answer to your question. Our weaknesses are with the multilateral system. Our multilateral system is not functioning at all. The world is not working together. The world must work together. Tourism is an industry that combines people together. It makes them link to each other. If we don't work together, we will never get anywhere. No one country can do it on its own anymore. That's the difference this time from the last times. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. But as you say, we are living very uncertain times. These uncertain times must be, as you said, all together. We can only win all together. But this uncertain times, we have now, for several weeks now, a vaccine that gives us a new hope for this crisis. What should be the next step that this industry should take to make this recovery quicker?
Okay, the vaccine is an excellent booster for the morale, and it certainly works. But if we want to wait until the whole world is vaccinated, because we will not have recovered until the whole world recovers. We need 5 years at least to vaccinate 70% of the people of the world. We don't want to turn this into a political
5 years.
game.
5 years, you said. 5 years.
For 70% of the people of the world to be vaccinated. Definitely. We need that. Because some countries can, some countries cannot vaccinate. We don't want to turn this into a political game of those that have it and those that don't have it. It doesn't work like this. Because countries that are receiving people
Vaccinated countries are okay, but they can't receive people from non-vaccinated countries. They can't send their people to non-vaccinated countries. So the whole issue of tourism and travel, connecting people together, doesn't work unless the whole world is vaccinated. Therefore, over-emphasizing vaccine is not good. I think we should adopt the concept of vaccination passport, but combine that with testing, combine that with the antibodies testing as well. So any one of those would allow you to travel, because testing is by far much easier, much more affordable. And we could do it immediately now if the world helps each other. Vaccination is not going to be the answer for everything. Thank you.
But do you think that with the vaccination, do you think that we can also talk about, and you said it not in these words but in other words, with discrimination? I'm vaccinated, I can travel. You are not vaccinated, you cannot travel. But you want to be vaccinated, but you can't because you are not in that age period to be vaccinated. So how can several countries, continents deal with this discrimination?
That's why it's going to take a long time. That's why it's going to take 5 years at least. You can't vaccinate pregnant women. You can't vaccinate children. Now, for example, even in countries like Israel, people are vaccinating their own citizens. They're not vaccinating the other people that are living there. That's discrimination. That's clear discrimination. So countries that can afford to vaccinate are fine. But countries that cannot afford to vaccinate, and many countries in the world cannot vaccinate, we need to vaccinate 70% of the people of the world before travel goes back to normality. That's not going to be happening unless we combine vaccination passports with testing passports. For example, testing, you can test 72 hours before you board. You can test on arrival. You can test before you depart. You can do many tests if testing becomes more affordable and more available. And combine the both of them together. That's how you should be able to travel. Otherwise, it's discriminatory, definitely.
Yes, but you have also an inconsistency of the measures of several countries. You have countries that are in lockdown, other countries that are in semi-lockdown, other countries are not in lockdown. Portugal is now in lockdown, but Spain is not in such an urgent lockdown as Portugal. Other countries are allowing trips, vacations. How can the industry as a whole manage all this?
The industry is not responsible for this. What's responsible for this are the governments of the world. The governments of the world must get together. There is no other way other than doing that. They must get together and agree on a minimum protocol. You cannot have, even in the EU now, as you said, the EU is supposed to be one union. It's not acting together. You cannot go to a country that has a lockdown and travel to a neighboring country that only requires you 72 hours of testing, to another country that requires you a vaccine. You cannot do that. This is a mixed system. So you have to work together as governments. Of course, this will take time, but it's our opportunity to rebuild the multilateral system again, brick by brick, from bottom up. That's what we need to do, because the current multilateral system is not operating at all. Not the EU, not the United States even. It's not United States anymore. It's the divided states of America. Each state is operating on its own. Even the United Nations is not. It's not. You don't hear anything coming out of them.
But the big issue you have now also regarding this crisis is everybody is talking about the so-called new normal. For the tourism and travel industry, what would you say would be or would be this new normal?
Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I used to take off from my car, go up the steps of an aeroplane and get into the plane. No metal detector, no taking off your shoes, no taking off your belt. It's become a normal not to take off your shoes and take off your belt. There's a new normal that's coming into being. For example, wearing a mask. The people of China wore masks way before we did. They were wearing masks even if the weather was not good at that time. In Korea, for example, you have to take off your shoes before you enter any home, no matter who you are. These norms have become norm at their culture. They're not norms at our culture. So our new norm is going to include so many additional hygiene and other practices that we're not used to. But that's part of the game. It's part of us adjusting to the new reality. We have to do that.
But do you think that this, you said this new normal with the mask and all that, do you think that is only with in the travel industry, with so-called in airplanes, in airports, or also in hotels, in restaurants, in places like that?
It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. Just like the Chinese did it a long time ago. If you went to China 3 or 4 years ago, you'd find people wearing masks, even if they walk in the streets. Why do they do that? Because the weather is not very clean. So we're going to have to live with that. Hugging and kissing is not going to be very popular anymore, unfortunately.
Okay. Let's go back to 2017 and regarding now Portugal. You said at the time that Portugal was a great facilitator of tourism and that the country's greatest asset was people. Are these the same people who could make now a difference for the recovery of the tourism industry in Portugal? Should there be a new mindset? Portugal was yesterday elected the best destination in Europe for 2021. So what can people in Portugal do for the recovery of the industry, tourism industry? Do we as Portuguese need a new mindset to all this new normal or this new times?
I must warn you, when I speak about Portugal, I'm very biased because I love Portugal. I feel myself a Portuguese. So although I don't speak the language that good, but I can understand it. So the people of Portugal, like any other people in the world, are the basis of any tourism industry. It's the people that matter. At the end of the day, you experience things with people, not with places. You can't go to a place that is not inhabited by people. So Portugal is a very strong country because of its people, for sure. Now, what does Portugal need to do now? Portugal needs to take a leading role. As a small country, it can do that. Small is beautiful, not only beautiful, but powerful also. As a small country, Portugal can lead through its neighbors, Spain, North Africa, and start bringing these governments together and starting to make them work together on a homogenized protocol, something that they can all agree on. Because nobody's going to travel simply because the government tells them you can travel now. They have to have a peace of mind. They will only have a peace of mind if there is harmony between the many governments of the world. Unfortunately, that's not happening. Portugal made it in the past, and it will make it again now. Definitely.
But do you think that this leading role, as you said it, is it political, financial, economical? How would you describe it?
It's political. It's political.
Political?
It's political. Definitely political. It's not a financial. It's a political will of working together. That's what's lacking now.
But this leading role, should it be all just with the neighborhood countries, Spain, North Africa, or could Portugal also explore the Portuguese language with Brazil, with other African countries? How do you see this leading role?
Of course it can. Of course it can. It has to start with its neighborhood and then go slowly internationally. But Portugal has an advantage. There is a Portuguese-speaking language for Portuguese-speaking people in every continent in the world. So Portugal has a good standing in the world. It's respected. Yes, I agree. You have to create bubbles and bubble and a corridor between those bubbles. But that corridor has to be direct. You can't have stopovers in countries that are not with you in the same system. So that's why I said we start with our neighbors. If the Europeans started together from the start, they would have been in a different position now. You can't have UK doing something, France doing something else, Germany doing something, Spain doing something third, and Portugal doing something fourth. That doesn't work like that. It can't. Unfortunately, it's the only way.
I see a little bit of criticism to Europe in the the differences between the several countries here in Europe. It's seen now with the vaccinations. Do you think that the several European countries will have different strategies to captivate the tourists all over the world, that will not see this European Union anymore?
It's not a European Union problem only. Europe is an example of that, because the European Union has been ahead of everybody else in unifying its procedures and its methods. Now it's failed. It's the multilateral system that is failing. The whole multilateral system of governments working together. It's not working anymore in the world. This crisis has created a fantastic opportunity for us to uncover the weaknesses of our systems. The UN is not working well as well. Look at the WTO, for example, World Tourism Organization. Where is the leading role there? You don't hear them saying anything. You don't hear them bringing governments together. They can't do it. Even WHO, the organization that's in charge of that, is not taking a leading role at all. It's taking only a scientific role. What we need is a political will to rebuild the international system. And we will build it.
We will go to the WTO and in other entities, but let me put another question regarding Portugal, and it's of great discussion here in Portugal that Portugal is a country that sells itself as a cheap country. There is no added value created for Portugal, and for the industry, the added value is very, very, very small. Now, with the post-pandemic times, it's normally usual to have great competition between several countries, and we will see competition between Portugal and Spain, Greece and Italy, Turkey, in other countries. How should Portugal position itself to attract tourists in this new post-pandemic era or time?
I don't think it's an issue of competition at all, because in tourism, competition is seen in a different light. What's good for my neighbor is good for me, usually. If more people come to Spain, more people will come to Portugal. More people come to Morocco, more people will come to Portugal, and so on and so forth. The only thing is, how good are you in attracting the people that come to your neighborhood? And by doing that, you can't be cheap or expensive. That doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of your service. You know, in the old souks, for example, you know the souk in Arabic.
Yes.
The souk, all the people that sell gold are in one street. All the people that sell peppers are in one street. They don't compete with each other, because they know that if people come to buy one thing from a certain shop, they'll come to the other shop. They compete with each other only on services, how good my services are. That's what Portugal must concentrate on. Forget about the prices. It's not the prices, is a secondary issue. Are you good in providing a service to anybody? If you're good, people will come to you. And you should not look at your neighbor, Spain or Morocco or North Africa, as competitors at all. There's no competition in tourism. In tourism, if more people come to the neighborhood, they come to you. They're there, available. You just need to attract them by your services. That's what you need to concentrate.
You think that if Spain has more tourism, that Portugal can benefit from it?
Definitely. I'm a resident of Spain. I have a house in south of Spain. I go to Portugal every time I am in Spain. I drive there.
Okay.
So it's normal only.
So, in another big issue that arises from this health crisis in the tourism industry is regarding employment and jobs in this new era of digital and technology. How will the future jobs in this industry of tourism and travel look like?
They'll be the same, but they look different. It's a different kind of job. For example, if you're working in a restaurant, you have to learn how to package things and deliver to homes, not just to give food to people at the tables. If you're working in a hotel, at a reception desk, your job is different. Technology has become a tool for us to make it easier. For example, I don't see why anybody must stand in line at the reception desk anymore at the hotel. You could get that on your phone now. You could get your key on your phone. You could check in on your phone and go and put your key in front of the door and the door will open, for example. So many things have changed, but the jobs will remain jobs. And the number of jobs that are provided by travel and tourism will continue to be the jobs. I don't think people will travel less at all. They'll travel more even than before, but they travel in a different way. They are changed because technology has become now a tool that we need to use. I don't believe that technology is going to make us lose jobs.
But what do you mean that people will not travel less, but travel in a different way?
More sustainable way.
Okay.
They travel in smaller groups. They travel to places outdoors more. They would like to enjoy their time. The concept of over-tourism would disappear soon, I hope. I think this crisis has many opportunities come out of it. You know, in the Chinese language, the word crisis and the word opportunity are one word. They don't use two different words. And there is a reason for that.
But do you think that you said a word now that for some years it had a great importance, and I think that also in tourism industry it will be of great importance. That is sustainability.
Yes.
This crisis helped this climate awareness or this sustainability awareness for the tourism industry, for the tourists. How do you see that people manage or that this great question of regarding the sustainability?
Let us first define sustainability. Sustainability is not just environmental or climate sustainability.
It's also financial
and social.
Yes.
It's about jobs. It's about sustaining life on Earth. It's not anti-growth or anti-progress. You can't just keep things frozen and say you can't touch them because it becomes less sustainable. You have to keep growing. You have to be progressing. For example, who said that Manhattan was more beautiful before New York was built on it? You can build things, you can interfere in things, but that's still sustainable. It's how you build the skyscraper, not where you build it. Not the principle of building a skyscraper, for example. That's sustainability. Now, just to go back to what you said about tourism. Yes, sustainability will become a gainer and a winner out of all of this. It will, but it will only become like this. For example, you know, in Kenya, the rhino bulk has doubled its sizes in the last year. Double the rhino population because people are not going there. So we're starting to experience new things, start to experience new skies. People are not moving around. We start to experience clean weather. It's part of sustainability. It's not all of sustainability, but it's important part of it. So I think we learned the lesson very well.
Yes,
I believe in mankind. And mankind.
But you earlier said that you don't expect that people will travel less, and that people will travel even more in the future.
Yes.
How do you adapt this to sustainability and climate awareness?
Yes, they would travel more, but they would travel distributed, more destinations, and less numbers in one place, one time. The issue of seasonality, for example. Seasonality. You know, you don't have many people being in the same time in the same place because it's summer or because it's a vacation. People are not going to do that anymore. They don't want to come close to each other. So people will travel more in terms of numbers, but more also in terms of the form of growth. The growth will be more sustainable growth, for sure. That's my prediction. I'm an optimist by nature.
And do you think that this now in 3 or 4 or 6 months, do you think that people will travel domestically, more regionally, or the eager to travel is so great that they want to travel to countries far away and just to travel and forget the lockdowns and the confinements and all this?
No, we're already traveling domestically and regionally. We're already doing. It's the first to bounce back. You know, in the United States and in Europe, 70 to 75% of travel is domestic. Only in developing countries, we don't have domestic tourism. Domestic tourism doesn't even count. There are no statistics for it. A tourist is only somebody that comes from outside. A blonde guy with blue eyes that comes from Mars. He's treated like king on earth. That's not right. What we need to do is make our people travel in their own countries first. Country that's not traveled, enjoyed by its own people, cannot be traveled and enjoyed by anybody from outside. So this is one of the advantages of this pandemic. People will travel, start first by traveling domestically. And the industry has to prepare itself for that. For example, hotels, they will have to prepare different packages for the local people. They will have to adjust their peaks according to national and regional vacations. And they will have to adjust to that. The only way that international tourism can start is after regional tourism, domestic tourism has taken its volume and peak. And I believe that one of the ways of starting international tourism is by digital nomads. You know, the digital nomads, the people that are working from abroad. They can come, travel for distances because they will stay longer. Instead of having 10 people staying for one night in a place, you have one person staying for 10 nights in the same place. It's even more sustainable and better.
Mr. Taleb, this interview is seen by several students of this institute. If you had to give a word of encouragement and hope to those who starts now to their journey in this industry, in the tourism industry, as a student or as a professional, what would you say?
I would say you're living in a better world than we have lived in. Imagine you were born in 1900. You would have had the Spanish fever. You'd have had the First World War. You'd have had the Second World War. You'd seen so many wars and catastrophes. The world has become a better place. You must believe in this. Mankind is living the best of times. And this pandemic has come to uncover the weaknesses of the old world. So what I'm saying to the new generation is please embrace this world. Move forward. Be imaginative. Think outside of the box. Use technology as a tool. And move on. For example, you know, I told you this before. I got my daughter married via Zoom now. My daughter lives in Dubai.
Via Zoom.
Yes, yes. My daughter lives in Dubai. She and her husband are living there. Me and the father of the groom were in Amman, Jordan, where I'm calling you from now. The priest was on the third night. We gave him the okay. He married them. We had to think outside of the box because technology now is becoming a tool. Everything is becoming virtual. Not just these meetings that we're seeing now. It's even personal events like the one I mentioned. So you have to be imaginative. You have to think outside of the box. That's what I tell your students in your institute. Please, please believe in your word. We're living in a much better world than we've ever lived before. Definitely. Just think about it. 50, 60 years ago, there were no women voting in Switzerland. People in the United States were sitting, African people were sitting back seats of the buses. Today, this is not possible at all. We're living in a much better world, definitely, for sure. But we need to move forward. We need to think optimistically and use this opportunity to overturn the whole international system that's been so biased. So Africa, for example, has not been treated fairly in the last decade. Not at all. It's time for Africa to rise, stand on its feet, and show the world it has so much to offer, so on and so forth. Thank you.
But you say the example of your daughter's marriage via Zoom is something that's the new normal. But this, for the professional universe, of tourism in the MICE sector, meetings in all that, conferences and events. Do you think that this new type of meetings, digital meetings, will have what kind of effect will this have for example for MICE?
It will have an effect for sure. But when I was in Spain a few months ago, I went to Seville. I attended a meeting there that's both virtual and physical. I think you call it hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the norm. People are going to go to places, keep distances, small people, but other people would join them in thousands and thousands via Zoom or via any kind of other electronic virtual means. That's the way it's going to be. Of course, the MICE industry would not bounce back first. First would bounce back is the leisure industry, for sure. People are very fed up. They can't wait to travel, go to places and see places. But then the meeting industry would bounce after that. Definitely.
Okay. Mr. Taleb, you left the World Tourism Organization in 2017. If you still were at the WTO, what would be the steps you would take or say to be taken in a global level?
I would first of all promote the messages I'm promoting now. We must all work together as government. The UNWTO is a intergovernmental organization. I must bring the governments of the world together. I would call for conferences on a regional basis. I'd call for meetings, for example, for African ministers, meetings for European ministers, not only ministers, heads of states also. I can do that. Call for meetings and ask them to face their reality. Raise my voice up high. Unfortunately, we don't hear any voices now. It's not the fault of WTO, it's the whole multilateral system that's failing.
But are there, what kind of lessons, if you should take a paper and note down 2 lessons the tourism industry can draw from this current crisis, what would it be? Or what would they be?
Number one is the importance of tourism itself. Nobody took tourism seriously before. I remember when I was in WTO, I used to travel with the president of WTTC, David Scousel at the time. We went to meet heads of states to explain to them how important tourism is. Now we don't need to do that because people are realizing how important it is, how much job they have lost, how much opportunities they have lost. So tourism comes out as a winner in the minds of the people at least. Then the importance of domestic tourism is very important. As I said, in developing countries, domestic tourism is not seen even as tourism at all. The people there don't know their own country. They only receive the visitors to get their money. In India, for example, in Hyderabad, one of the villages around Hyderabad, there was a night where the people around a certain 5-star hotel attacked that hotel, put it on fire. Because you can't keep serving the rich people of the world when your own economic situation is not good. You need to travel in your own country. You need to appreciate what you have before anybody else appreciates it.
But do you think that the governments now will look to tourism differently?
Yes, they are already. You could feel that. But you need to pick it up. You need to highlight it. You need to speak about it. Raise your voice. Bring people together. Put them in front of their responsibility. That's what you need to do.
Before I pass to the questions of who is watching us and seeing this interview, I have one last question for you, and that is, what could be a positive message for all the tourism and travel industry now?
Come together. You can only do it together. No government can do it alone, no matter how good your plan is. Definitely. Come together as governments, because the private sector is really waiting for governments to move. It's in the hands of governments. Governments are so preoccupied, now correctly so, with the fact that they need to save lives. of course. But saving life does not mean living without dignity. Now, you need to balance life and livelihoods, life and quality of life. That's the responsibility of government, and no government can do it alone. That's for sure. So my message to the world is the following. Come together. Let's work to do this together. To the young people is, please believe in your world. There's a new world coming up. Use technology as a tool. That's my message. Thank you.
I will now open the panel for question. Now in Portuguese, pedia que colocassem aqui as questões. And Mr. Taleb, the first question is from Helzio Azevedo, and he asked, the question is as follows. How countries like Mozambique in Africa are very poor. How can they recover the tourism sector when facing financial problems to have vaccines?
Well, you have to have the rich countries of the world recognize that vaccine is not the answer. Because if vaccine is going to be the answer, countries like Mozambique will be left out, for sure. Testing is a good way. Put your money in testing and put your money where it really pays back. I'm saying this to the rich people of the world, not to the people of Mozambique. People of Mozambique, I know, are trying hard. But the people of Mozambique have another opportunity now to create their own creativity, think outside of the box. You know, Africa all together.
But do you think that this developing countries could they only face this crisis in a positive way by having help from the rich countries?
Well, they first must come together as Africans. If they come together as Africans, they will make a big difference because they will impose what they want on the whole world. When the world will travel, they will travel to Africa. They're not going to travel to countries that are not vaccinated. So it's in the interest of African travelers to vaccinate the people of Mozambique. It's in the interest of Europeans to do that.
Yes, and WTO, what kind of role could WTO have in all this?
Well, they could bring the governments of Africa together, for example. Nobody's bringing them together at all. I'm a patron of ATB, Africa Tourism Board, and I'm trying to do that my best now, to bring the governments of Africa together. They want to come together. They're waiting for it. They're yearning for it. But they need a facilitator to do that. WTO is the best facilitator to do that. I can see somebody's asking about the World Health Organization as well, and the relationship between WTO and WHO. Of course, it's an important relationship.
This is one other question that is put here is World Tourism Organization. Should they join efforts with World Health Organization to help this kind of countries? I think that this kind of countries are poor countries.
Of course they must. Of course they must. But first they must bring the countries together. Each organization has its own clientele. World Tourism Organization has the ministers of tourism. The World Health Organization has the ministers of health. If both countries make a conference, for example, for African tourism ministers and health ministers to meet together and talk and tell them you're not going to leave this room before you agree on something. We used to do that. You're not leaving this room before we come to an agreement. That would help a lot.
Okay, next question is, do you agree with the vaccination passport? Is it not discriminatory, or is it a help for travelers in tourism?
No, it's discriminatory. I'm against the vaccination passport if it's the only way of traveling. It can be part of another package that includes testing and antibodies testing. But alone, no. I'm not for it.
Just the vaccination passport, you are not
I'm
seeing
against
it as
I'm definitely not.
Okay.
It's discriminatory. It's discriminatory. It's not going to work.
But do you think that it will not help travelers in tourism?
Well, it would help rich countries to travel to each other only.
Okay.
You can't travel to a poor country. Poor country cannot come to you. This is a problem. And most of destinations of the world are in the developing countries.
Another question. Good afternoon, Mr. Sir Rifai. Do you consider that betting on the confidence and security felt by people can be great keys for the future of the tourism sector?
Definitely. Because people are not going to travel just because the government said you can travel now. They have to feel good about it. One of the ways of doing it is that the Caribbeans are doing. They have a program called the Caribbean Cares, Jamaica Cares, which is buying an insurance policy. When you buy your ticket, you pay $25 more. You buy an insurance policy. This insurance policy will guarantee you to be treated. It's only for COVID, or be repatriated to your own country if you so wish. These are measures that can be done to secure your peace of mind. You need to communicate confidence. And the other way of communicating confidence is to concentrate on hygiene and cleanliness. People are not going to travel on airplanes that are not clean, or go to restaurants that are not, their waiters are not wearing masks, so on and so forth. So this is all messages of confidence for sure.
Okay. Next question. It is divided in two. Mr. Rifai, do you have any idea of what will happen to the cruise industry, for example?
The cruise industry has been unfairly treated because there were some incidents at the beginning where some germs were spread on the cruise, and the whole cruise was affected. Cruise is like an island, and it's floating all over the world. You can control it. If you control it well, the cruise industry can be the first to bounce back if you have a good procedure to do it. But you need to make sure that whatever ports you go to are also consistent with your procedures.
Yes.
You can't have a cruise just being by themselves. They're going to go and land in Greece, land in Portugal, land in Spain, so on and so forth. So when they go down...
Do you think that the people are people? When I say people, I say the governments. Do you think that they are looking too much to the airline companies, to aviation, and not to cruise ship, for example?
There is a bias against cruise, for sure. Not in favor of airlines, for sure. But I'm not saying this against air, but there is a bias against cruises because of the few incidents that happened before. Okay. Airlines are in a better situation now than cruises, for sure.
Another question. Companies are now pressing the CDC because they seem to have been abandoned. Do you think their future is promising, that they will survive to this unprecedented crisis?
By CDC, you mean the controlled disease?
Yes, I think so. CDC, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yes. I believe the CDC is part of the old system, unfortunately.
The old system?
Yes, the governments. And they need to be adjusted now, just like everything else is going to be adjusted. Old governments are not going to work anymore. Old system is not going to work anymore. They will survive it, but they need to be definitely different in the way they look at things. Too classical. They're too classical.
Yes. Let me see. I want to. This is not a question. This is a comment. I have a question for our guest. I don't know if this was answered already, but here it goes. Once the pandemic is over, I want to believe that in the next year we will be over. So do you think people will think about recovering the lost time due to the pandemic?
The pandemic will not be over just like that. What will be over is the old ways of doing things. We're not going to go back to the way we were. We're going to go forward to where we should be. So the concept of pandemic disappearing just like that is not going to happen, unfortunately. And The second part of the question is, will the sector be going through the crisis next year?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we're improving every day. Every day the world is getting better in its consciousness and its awareness, its vaccination, its testing ability. People are getting more conscious, more aware of the new norm. So every day is going to get better than the day before. Tomorrow is better than yesterday, for sure.
Let's see the last two questions regarding the 2030 agenda. Are we aware of what are the current talks at the United Nations about the impacts of the pandemic and perhaps future guidelines?
United Nations is not talking about the pandemic at all, unfortunately.
Do you think they are not talking about the pandemic?
No, they're not. They're not concerned with it, unfortunately. They talk about the SDGs, yes, but only as if nothing has happened, unfortunately.
Okay, that's a very big critic. But
yeah.
Let's go. Let's see. So that's a critic all for the Secretary General of the United Nations.
Not Antonio Guterres. He's a good man, but the system is a different system. The system is not helping him, just like all the organizations I was criticizing. They're not concerned with this issue. They think it will go away next year or the year after by itself, and we'll go back to the old norms. We're not going to go back to the old norms. We need to change ourselves. We need to bring the world together in a different way. I think the whole UN would be rebuilt again, from bottom up, brick by brick. As I said before, there will be a united world, but it will be a different united world, a more fair, a more equitable, and less racist world.
Okay, let's look at the last question. Mr. Taleb Rifai, thank you for your vision that I consider very contemporary. It's the voice of the experience. Do you think that authenticity of places will keep being the best product to offer for those who are visiting other geographies?
Of course, but authenticity is about the people, not just about the place. Authenticity is a mixed culture. It's about people. So people are becoming more important here.
It's what you said about Portugal.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So authenticity is about how you keep that culture of the place intact, how you keep growing with it in ways that become more attractive, different from anybody. You travel to places because you respect those places. Don't travel to a place that you don't respect. So you have to go to places that are different from yours. Authenticity is difference. And difference is what makes travel a unique activity, human activity for sure.
Okay, so let's see at the last question. Good afternoon to all. Mr. Rifai, thank you for your speech and ideas. Some optimistic message to address specifically tourism students?
Yes, I think I said that before. Please believe in your world. Your world is a better world now than it was yesterday, in spite of everything you see around you. Use technology in an imaginative way. Use it as a tool. Don't let it be your slave. You don't be a slave of technology. Make technology become your slave. That's what you need to do. You need to use technology as a tool. That's what I tell my students now.
Last question. Mr. Taleb Rifai, how many years will be important we make national tourism to help the economy to recover?
The economy will recover much faster than we think it would. But it would not only depend on tourism, it would depend on so many things. It would depend on the consciousness and awareness of the people. It all depends. If the world does not come together first, no recovery is going to happen. Not even the richest countries in the world. We've seen the United States, what happened in the United States, for example. The United States is not going to recover very soon. It's a rich country. The economy can become better on numbers, but it's not the numbers that matter anymore. You know, the index of happiness, for example, is going to become more important than the index of GDP.
so on and so forth. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Taleb, we reached the end of this interview. Thank you again very much. Thank you for your time. Keep safe. I hope to see you sooner than the last 4 years between these interviews that we had, 2017 in Public Tourism, now 2021 and today. Again, thank you.